والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وخاتم النبيين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, I'm not going to delay any longer, inshallah. We have with us our guests today, inshallah, and may Allah Azza wa Jal reward those brothers that before this talk, inshallah, the brothers who gave the poetry and the brothers who recited, and Allah reward them, inshallah. Our ustad today is Uthman Lateef, and he's free from ta'reef. So inshallah, please make dua for him, and inshallah, may Allah Azza wa Jal accept it from him. So inshallah, the subject is إنما مع العسر, indeed after hardship comes easy. So inshallah, I hope you will benefit, inshallah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This topic, in fact, is one of the most important topics in our religion. The idea of ease coming after hardship is one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in the Quran. إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Indeed, after hardship comes ease. The nature of the world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made is a place of trial, is a place of difficulty, is a place of turmoil, is a place of kabad, is a place of toil, a place of difficulty. In fact, in the famous hadith when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Jannah, and Allah said to Jibreel alayhi salam, "Idhab fanzur ilayha," go and see this place that I've created. And Jibreel alayhi salam goes back and Allah asked him, "What do you think of the place I've created?" And Jibreel alayhi salam, he says, "La yasma'u ahadan," no one will hear of this place illa dakhalaha, except he will enter this place. Meaning, anyone who hears of the place Jannah and knows its descriptions and its delights and its wonders, of course, will want to enter this place. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He covered paradise with makari, He covered paradise with hardships, with difficulties, meaning a difficult road, a thorny path. To get to that place Jannah, you're going to make effort, you're going to make toil, you're going to labor, you're going to sweat, you might get bruised, you might get tired, right? You might get difficulties to get to that place. Then he said to Jibreel alayhi salam the second time, go and see this place. And he goes and he sees and he comes back and he said, I don't think anyone will enter this place. I don't think anyone will enter this place. Then Allah created Jahannam, Allah created the hellfire. And Allah said to Jibreel alayhi salam, go and see this place. And he goes and sees and he says, anyone who hears of this place, no one who hears of it will enter it. Because if you heard of that place, Jahannam, the nar, the fire, you would of course try your best as much as you're able to avoid yourself entering that place. And Allah covered it with shahwat, Allah covered it with desires, with temptations, with things that people like, with things that the nafs finds happy, it finds contentment in. Right? Its lusts are happy with that. And Allah says to Jibreel alayhi salam, "Idhab fanzur ilayha," go and see this place. And he goes and he comes back. And Allah says, "What do you think?" He said, I think everyone will enter this place. I think everyone will enter this place. I don't think anyone will be safe from this place. So like that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Jannah and Jahannam to test. In that test, there are trials and tests for us to get through to these places. Of course, the recourse, the desire of every Muslim is to get to paradise. But to get to that place, he has to make effort. He has to be tried. He has to be tested. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ. Allah says that Allah will test you. بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ, with something of khawf, of fear. وَالْجُوعِ, and with hunger. وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ, and with some loss of your money. وَالثَّمَرَاتِ, and your fruits. Meaning your work, your agriculture, your livestock. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. But Allah says, and give glad tidings to those who are patient. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Those, when they're tested with some trial, with a difficulty, in their deen or their dunya, in their limbs, in their bodies, in their wealth, in their fare, anything. They say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah we belong, and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we will return. Ulaika alayhim. Upon them is salawat from their Lord, Rabbihim. Upon them is peace from their Lords, and rahmah, and hidayah, and guidance, and so on and so forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this life to test those الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Allah has created death and life لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, meaning from ibtila, bala. Allah will give you trials and tests to test those of you who are best indeed. The wonderful thing, in fact, about this ayah in Surah Al-Mulk is the fact that Allah doesn't say أَكْثَرُ وَعَمَلًا. Allah doesn't say to test those who are most indeed, but to test those who are best indeed. Of course, you could find someone, this is why the famous hadith on the authority of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, when he said that the Prophet said to me, Ya Mu'adh, he says, Ya Mu'adh, أخلص دينك يكفك العمل القليل. He said, أخلص دينك, make your religion sincere. Have ikhlas in your religion. Right? Ikhlas, and لا تقبض لعملك شاهدا غير الله. You're not seeking for your actions a witness other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أن تكون حركته وسكونه في سره وعلانيته لله تعالى وحده لا يمازجه شيء لا نفس ولا هوى ولا دنيا. You're making your actions and your inactivity, your actions and your doing nothing, right? In secrecy and in open, all for Allah's sake. That sincerity should not be fused or mixed with nafs, with your lower self, with your lower inclination, or with your hawa, with your desires, or with dunya. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Allah has given us life to test those who are best indeed. That is the purpose of our life. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And Allah has not created humans or jinn except for them to worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you examine and if you look at the example of the Anbiya, example of the prophets, here we will find a wonderful example of how they were tested by Allah and how they found ease after their situations of hardship. Because of course in the hadith, those who Allah loves the most are of course the Anbiya, and then those after them in a lesser scale, in a lesser degree, and then those after them in a lesser scale, lesser degree. Right? Look at the example of Yaqub alayhi salam. What happened to Yaqub alayhi salam? There was a prophet who was also a father of several children, and they conspired, of course, to throw the most beloved child of Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam, down a well, to deprive the father of his child. That was an act of dhulm, it was an act of injustice. Right? To deprive anyone of anyone else is an act of dhulm, injustice, even animals. In the famous hadith, when the Prophet was walking back with his Sahaba, and there was a bird that was fluttering over him and fluttering her wings erratically. And he turned around to his companions and he asked, why is this bird behaving like this? Why is the bird fluttering her wings erratically like this? And one Sahabi said, Ya Rasulullah, it's because I took her child. I took the baby bird from this mother bird. I took the child. And he said to him, why would you want to deprive a mother of her child? Why would you want to deprive a mother of her child? It's an act of dhulm. اتقوا الظلم فإن الظلمات ظلمات يوم القيامة. فإن الظلمات يوم القيامة. Beware of dhulm, beware of injustice, because that is darkness on the day of judgment. Allah has not made us a people of dhulm. In the famous hadith Qudsi, this hadith, كان أبو إدريس الخولاني إذا حدث بهذا الحديث جثى على ركبتيه. When Abu Idris would narrate this hadith, he would kneel on the floor out of respect for the greatness and magnificence of this hadith Qudsi. And it begins, a long hadith, but it begins by saying, Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi waja'altu bainakum muharraman fala tadhalamu. O my servants, I have forbidden dhulm upon myself, and I have forbidden the same amongst you. So do not be unjust towards one another. Do not show injustice towards one another. Any form of dhulm. So they threw Yusuf alayhi salam down a well, and they said to his father that he's being killed, a wolf has eaten him. Yaqub alayhi salam never really believed their story. It was too far-fetched to be true. In the Quran we find out later that he didn't fully believe what they told him when they told him this lie. In any case, Yusuf alayhi salam, he is rescued and he becomes a person of influence. He becomes a worker for the king of Egypt. And then the story, of course, is long, but the point is, Yaqub alayhi salam, after his difficulty, after he pleaded to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ, indeed I plead my anguish and distress to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ, indeed I plead my anguish and distress to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who do we have except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to plead to when we have situations of hardship? Like the poet said, لا تخضعن لمخلوق على طمع فإن ذلك وهم منك في الدين واسترزق إلا مما في خزائنه فإن الأمر بين الكاف والنون لا تخضعن لمخلوق على طمع. Don't always beg the creation, but always ask the people. There is a very interesting hadith, in fact, on the authority of Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, when he said that أوصاني خليلي بسبعة, my intimate friend, the Prophet advised me with 7 things. أولا, the first one, أمرني بحب المساكين, he commanded me to love the poor. But one of them was, أمرني أن لا أسأل أحدا شيئا. He commanded me not to ask anyone anything. Right? To have a degree of independence, but complete dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Like the famous hadith, لو أنكم توكلون على الله حق توكله. If you really had trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لرزقكم كما يرزق الطير. Allah would provide for you like He provides for the birds. تغدو خماص وتروح بطان. They leave their trees, right? Or they leave their homes with empty stomachs and they return home with full stomachs, meaning they're fully dependent upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sustenance and provision. And so also he taught Abu Dharr al-Ghifari specifically and also by extension to his own ummah that we should be a people who have complete trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So لا تخضعن لمخلوق على طمع فإن ذلك وهم منك في الدين. Don't show, is that better? لا تخضعن لمخلوق. Don't always beg the creation because that shows weakness in your religion. واسترزق إلا مما في خزائنه, but ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from His treasures. فإن الأمر بين الكاف والنون, because indeed the command is between 2 letters, kaf and nun, which makes kun, be. If Allah says kun fayakun, and it becomes, right? So we are supposed to be a people of complete dependence upon Allah whenever we're tested with a situation. I wanted to give a different perspective, a different paradigm shift to a talk like this, because this talk, alhamdulillah, it's been delivered many times, a lot in masajid, in the ma'al usri yusra, after hardship comes ease. You know, if you study the example of the Salaf and Sahaba, you will see that sometimes you find that they had a different perspective of what a musibah, what masa'ib, what difficulties actually were, what constitutes a difficulty, right? What constitutes ease, what constitutes hardship, right? A different perspective on things. And this perspective can be understood when we really begin to understand the difference between sabr and shukr. In the famous hadith, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Inna amra al-mu'min kulluhu ajab, la yaqdi Allahu lahu qada'an illa kana khayran lahu." All of the affairs of the mu'min are strange. Allah decrees nothing for him except that it's good for him. That means every single thing that affects the life of a Muslim mu'min, kana khayran lahu, it's good for him. If a blessing comes his way, right, shakara, he thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ, and it's good for him. And if a hardship comes his way, sabr, then he's patient, and it's good for him. That means the mu'min is between these 2 stages of sabr and shukr. Like Ibn al-Qayyim would say, وَالْإِيمَانِ نِصْفَانَ الصَّبْرُ وَشُكْرُ. Iman is 2 halves that come together as a whole. As-sabr and shukr. Patience and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what are we grateful for? That is the question. And what do we mean by after hardship comes ease? What hardship and what ease? Sometimes we don't understand what the hardship is, and even if it's really a hardship. And sometimes we can't recognize the situation of ease. because we don't really understand what is shukr. What are we grateful for? I'll give you an example. In one narration, on the authority of Salman al-Farisi, radiallahu ta'ala, he narrates the story concerning a man. The man, he used to praise Allah a lot. He used to praise Allah a lot, right? He used to praise Allah so much until he didn't even have a bed left. The more he would praise Allah, the more was taken from him. Each time he would praise Allah, the more was taken from him. And of course, this is difficult to understand because of the ayah in the Quran, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ مِنَ عَذَابِ لَشَدِيدٍ. The more you thank Allah, then the more Allah increases you. If you thank Allah, Allah increases you. But if you're ungrateful to Him, then the punishment of Allah is severe. That's why Ibn Lateef would say that whenever the mu'min finds a loss in his affairs, immediately the first thing he should do is begin to make shukr to Allah. Because maybe that loss has come about because he didn't make shukr in the first instance. Right? But this man, every time he would praise Allah, the more was taken from him. Until he didn't even have a bed left. He had nothing. A man walked past him. A man walked past him, and he said to the man is still praising Allah. He said, أي شيء بقي عليك من النعمة تحمد الله عليها. Which thing remains with you from ni'mah, from blessing, that you would praise Allah for? Meaning you have nothing left. Why are you still praising Allah when you have nothing? He says, أحمده على ما لو أعطيت به ما أعطى الخلق لما أعطيه إياه. I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that thing which He has given me, but I could never give to anyone else. He says, I praise Allah for that thing which Allah has given me, but I could never give to anyone else. Which thing do we have that Allah has given us, but we could never give to anyone else? The man says, وَمَا ذَاكَ, and what is that? He says, أَرَأَيْتُكَ بَصَرَكَ, do you not see your eyes? أَرَأَيْتُكَ لِسَانَكَ, do you not see your tongue? وَيَدَيْكَ رِجْلَيْكَ, do you not see your hands, do you not see your feet? Meaning sometimes what we're looking for is a bigger blessing to come our way. We're waiting for the big one. If we have no children, we would say, the moment I have a child, I would thank Allah so much for that. We're waiting to pass our exams. Before that stage, we're in kind of limbo. Do I thank Allah as yet or not? Waiting, I'm going to pass my exams first, and then I will thank Allah so much. We're waiting to graduate, and then I will thank Allah. Waiting to get married. When I get married, you will see, the sister will say, I will put my hijab on, brother, I will do this and that. We're waiting for the big things to come our way. But we forget the small blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We forget the small favors. In fact, in essence, they're big favors. But sometimes we take them for granted, because they're always with us. Ibn Lateef gives a similar story. He gives a story of one who was a leper. He had a disease. And the man was lying on the floor, stricken with leprosy, right? He was in such a difficulty. And another man rode past on his horse. The man on the floor, he said, Alhamdulillah ala ni'mihi, praise be to Allah for His blessing. The leper said. The man on the horse, he said, what? Look at your situation. What blessing. The man on the floor, the leper, he says, turn your eyes to the people of the city. And see how many people there are in the city. The man said, why? He said, just do it. And he turns and he sees all the people in the city. And then the man on the floor says to him, shouldn't I praise Allah? Out of all the people in the city, Allah chose just to test me. Out of all the people in the city, Allah chose just to test me. Now that is a paradigm shift. That is a different perspective. That is different to what we might consider to be hardship, or what we might consider to be ease. Where is the ease in this man's situation? Look and see where his ease is. One of the first things, my dear brothers, about shukr, it has 3 or 4 conditions for it to be met. But one of the first things is ma'rifah, for the ni'mah, is to have recognition for the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to recognize the favor. If you can't see the blessing of Allah, how can we thank Allah for it? And if Allah takes a musibah, takes a calamity away from you, and gives you ease after that, you need to be able to recognize what that ease is. Because sometimes we're waiting for the ease to come after the hardship, but we don't recognize if the ease is here or not. What about this man? Where's his ease? Ma'rifah, recognition of Allah. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah's power of all things. Recognizing Allah's power over him. Recognizing the favor of Allah upon him, that by way of the calamity, Allah removes the sins of the mu'min. Right? Allah removes the sins of the believer by way of the calamity. مَا يُصِيبُ الْمُؤْمِنِ مِنَ الْوَسَطِ. Right? The mu'min is not tested, is not struck by the difficulty, not by even tiredness in the hadith, not even by tiredness, not in any pain, not any difficulty, nothing afflicts the mu'min except Allah removes his sins by way of that difficulty. Right? So therefore everything that happens to the mu'min that is against himself, that is difficult for him, can be a good thing for him. Of course, another perspective, of course, it can be a punishment for him if he's not meeting the target of being a mu'min, for example. It can be a punishment for him, adab for him. Right? But for the mu'min, it's khayran lahu, it's good for him. Everything, as long as he has sabr and so on and so forth. We have the example of Ayyub alayhi salam in the Quran, of Yunus alayhi salam. أيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. Ayyub became blind alayhi salam. Had difficulty, he lost his family, lost his children, right? And he was getting old in age, right? Is that not a blessing to have sight? Is that not a blessing to be able to see the world, to have sight? They would say, Ibn Adam, O son of Adam, Bakr bin Abdullah, one of the scholars of the past, he says, إن أردت أن تعرف قدر ما أنعم الله عليك فغمض عينيك. If you want to see if you want to see the blessings upon you, the blessing of Allah upon you, then close your eyes and try to live in a world like that, in a world of darkness, right? So his eyesight was taken away from him. His family was taken away from him. But then Allah says that Allah gave him another family back. Allah gave him a family back. Right? And they were more in number. وَرَحْمَةً مِنَّا وَذِكْرَى لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ رَحْمَةً مِنَّا. And the fact that Allah gave him a new family with new progeny, and Allah returned his sight to him, made him healthy after illness, وَرَحْمَةً مِنَّا, is a mercy from us. وَذِكْرَى لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ, and a lesson or reminder for the people of lub, for the people of depth, for the people of perception, for the people of thinking. What about Yunus alayhi salam? Right? إِذْ أَبَقَ إِلَى إِذْ أَبَقَ Yeah, right? So Allah says, that he ran away from his people. Allah gave him an instruction, but he became angry with his own people and he left them. And you know the story, he went on a boat, he went on a ship, and they had to draw lots because the boat was overpacked, and he was one that was selected, and he was cast into the water, and a whale swallowed him up, and he was stuck. But he called upon Allah, La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. In one authentic hadith, he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ma min Muslim, there is no Muslim who calls upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this dua, the dua of the noon, the dua of Yunus alayhi salam, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers him. This dua, La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. You would of course see from this dua that Yunus alayhi salam is ascribing all blame to himself. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Like Rabbana walamna anfusana, our Lord, we have wronged ourselves. Adam alayhi salam, right? Imputing the blame upon himself, right? That was the description of Yunus, the description of Adam alayhi salam, right? So Allah rescued him from that condition. What about our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was living in Mecca for 13 years under hardship? His family was attacked, his companions were attacked. So many difficulties went his way. He was ridiculed, mocked. right? He suffered, he struggled, right? In one narration concerning Uthman bin Shayba was the one who kept the keys to the Kaaba. And once this was in Mecca time, and Uthman bin Shayba is kind of, he's there with this entourage of the Quraysh of Mecca, and they're all going inside the Kaaba to see and to worship the idols in the Kaaba. And he's there and he's entertaining them and he's kind of ushering them in. And the Prophet, he walked past, right? And Uthman bin Shayba, he pushed the Prophet away. He says, Muhammad, you have no right to enter this place. You have no right to be here. And the Prophet, he said to this man, he says, Uthman, what would you do on a day when these keys are in my hands? What would you do then? On a day when these keys are in my hands? He said that day will never come. We will never have a day like that when these keys that I have are in your hand, because all the odds are stacked up against you. All the odds are against you. There's no way that you can have these keys. And it was just a matter of years, my dears. Right? When he came back, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم for فتح Mecca, and he took the keys. But he told the people, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم, there's no revenge, no punishment on any of you guys today. And he forgave them. Right? But the point is, Allah returned him. Allah gave him the ease after the hardship that he was experiencing. In the Quran, we have the example of Musa, of the mother of Musa alayhi salam. وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ مُوسَى فَارِغًا إِنْ كَادَتْ تُبْدِي بِهِ لَوْلَا أَن رَبَطْنَا عَلَى قَلْبِهِ لِتَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And Allah says that when Musa alayhi salam, of course, was born, and you know the story, he was placed in this box, and the box was floating in the Nile, and was picked up by Fir'aun and his wife Asya, right? And وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. Allah says that the heart of the mother of Musa becomes farig, it becomes empty. The Mufassirin, they say empty of everything except her love for her son. Right? Empty of everything except her love for her son. Imagine losing your son. Now imagine the kind of awkward situation that she was placed in. Right? The fact that she was trying her best to avoid her son from entering into the court or the palace of Fir'aun, for Fir'aun to see her son, because she disclosed her pregnancy. But at the end of the day, the son goes right to the palace of her arch enemy, Fir'aun. Meaning the worst situation ever to happen to this woman happened. That's how Allah tested her, and Allah tested her iman. By way of that, by placing her in the most difficult and most precarious situation, the thing that she wanted, the last thing on earth she wanted to happen, happened. It happened to her son. So, وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ مُوسَى فَارِغًا, her heart becomes empty of everything except the hum, except the difficulty, right, concerning what had happened to her son. In كَادَتْ تُبْدِي بِهِ, Allah says she was about to disclose her situation, meaning she was about to go and knock on the door of Fir'aun and request that her son be given back to her. By this time, of course, the Asya, Imrat Fir'aun, had fallen in love with Musa. She says, we will keep this child for ourselves. That sounds loud. So she couldn't do that. But she wanted to do that. لَوْلَا أَن رَبَطْنَا عَلَى قَلْبِهَا. Allah says, had we not strengthened her heart. Meaning she was going to do that, but we strengthened her heart. لِتَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, so that she is steadfast amongst the mu'mineen. What a test for a woman. To lose her child, and the child going to a man who claims he's Allah and Rabbukum al-A'la, the child going to a man who is killing all the other children who were born that year because of this dream that he had. Right? But what does Allah say? فَرَدَّدْنَاهُ إِلَىٰ أُمِّهِ كَيْ تَقَرَّ عَيْنُهَا وَلَا تَحْزَنَ وَلِتَعْلَمَ أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. فَرَدَّدْنَاهُ إِلَىٰ أُمِّهِ. But Allah returned Musa alayhi salam to his mother. كَيْ تَقَرَّ عَيْنُهَا, so that her heart finds contentment and peace in him. وَلِتَعْلَمَ أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ, and so that she knows that the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true. So that she knows the promise of Allah is true. But most people do not know. That's the point. So in all these examples, we can see the idea of Allah returning, or idea of restoration. Meaning they were struck with the difficulty, with the calamity, but because of their reliance and trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah returned to them the favor. Now we of course have different tests in different ways in our lives. Some of us may be tested by way of money. We may lose money. But is that a calamity? Is that a calamity to lose money? You know, there are two types of shukr, shukr al-'am and shukr al-khas. Shukr al-'am ala mat'am wal-malbas wal-mashtab wa qut al-abdan. The general kind of gratitude we owe to Allah is thanking Allah for our food, for our drink, for our clothing, and for the strength of our limbs. But what about the shukr al-khas, the specific shukr? Al-iman wa tawheed wa qut al-qulub. That you would thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your iman, for your tawheed, you worship Allah alone, ascribing no partners unto Him, and for the strength of your heart. دخل رجل إلى سهل بن عبد الله وقال اللص دخل داري وأخذ متاعي. A man came to Sahl ibn Abdullah and he says to him, rahmatullah alayh, a thief has entered my house and he has stolen my stuff. Now what would you say if someone said that to you? That a thief has entered their house and they've stolen their stuff, what would you say to them?
Pray to Allah.
Pray to Allah. MashaAllah. Alright. You're very pious, MashaAllah. Right. What else would you possibly say? You might say call the police, right? You know, you might say if you want stuff, I can help you. You might say, inshallah, Allah will give you stuff back. You could say anything, right? Sahl ibn Abdullah said to this man, Ishkur Allah, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank Allah. فَلَوْ دَخَلَ عَلَيْكَ لُصُّ قَلْبَكَ. Because if the thief of your heart entered your heart, وَهُوَ shaitan, and that's shaitan. If the thief of your heart entered your heart, and that's shaitan, and he corrupted your belief in Allah, then what would you do? Then what would you do?
I will pull someone to... If it's even to someone, that means someone like from the mosque who knows how to do the Quran, like tell them how to be Muslim or they will die on the spot.
MashaAllah. You should be in my place, what am I doing? Right? What would you do? The example he's trying to give him is the fact that think about what you have remaining with you. Meaning, is it really a hardship? And what ease do you expect? That's the point. How can we weigh up the tangible things that we might have in our lives with the things that are of the inner? Of course, we are a people who are more concerned about what rests within. What will we have on the outside? Allah has made us a people who are more concerned about the inner rather than the outer. Right? In the Quran, what does Allah say? يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On that day, nothing will benefit them, not their wealth, not their children, except the one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. That is an inner condition. In the famous hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, when he says, أخبرني أن الإحسان, tell me what is ihsan. أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه وإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. Worship Allah as though you're seeing Allah. But you cannot be in that spiritually profound state, so you should know Allah is seeing and observing you. It's an inner condition, working on the inner condition. That is more important. If you lose it from the inside, then the outside doesn't even matter. So when you've lost something, I'll give an example. What about the example of Urwa bin Zubayr? Who was Urwa bin Zubayr, rahmatullah alayh? It was from the Tabi'een, even though his brothers were Sahaba, and his father, famous Sahabi Zubayr bin Awam, and his mother Asma bint Abi Bakr, daughter of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu ta'ala anhum jami'an. There is a famous story of the four, like who were in the shade of the Kaaba. Abdullah bin Zubayr, Mus'ab bin Zubayr, Urwa bin Zubayr, and the Malik bin Marwan. And each one of them is making a wish. One of them says, أَتَمَنَّى أَنْ أَمْلِكَ الْحِجَازِ. I wish I could rule over the Hijaz, and I would rule bil-adl, I would rule with justice. The next man says, as for me, أتمنى أملك العراق, and I wish I could rule over Kufa and Basra, Iraq, and I would rule with justice. The third one says, if you two wish for these things, I wish I could rule over the whole earth, and I would rule with justice. فسكت عروة. All Urwa is silent. فالتفتوا إليه. They turned to him. They said, أنت وماذا تتمنى يا عروة? What do you wish for, Urwa? We're all made our wishes, but what do you wish for? He says, أولا بارك الله لكم فيما تمنيتم من أمر دنياكم. He says the first thing is, may Allah bless you in what you desire from dunya. Right? There is a tone of sarcasm you might see there or hear there, right? May Allah bless you in what you desire from dunya. أما أنا me أتمنى أن أكون عالما عاملا. I wish I could be alim, scholar, knowledgeable person, and amil, someone who acts upon my knowledge. يأخذ الناس عني كتاب ربهم وسنة نبيهم. People will take the book of their Lord from me and the sunnah of their prophet from me. I want to be this person. How many of us, young people like Urwa bin Zubayr was so young, have aspirations like that? Right? We might want to be this or that, or this person or that person. Right? But how many of us have aspirations like this? I want to be like this person. Right? He says, I will be successful, mashallah. Right?
I want to be that.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, that's it. And he said, you see, when Urwa bin Zubayr grows up, he has 4 children. And the Khalif in Damascus invited him to Damascus, and he goes there. He takes his 4 children with him. And one of his sons, in fact, is playing with a horse. The horse kicks his son, and the son ended up dying. Urwa bin Zubayr, he had to bury his son. He had to dig a grave and bury his son, and that's exactly what he did. But when he's in that situation, he cut his foot or his leg. That cut develops into an infection, like an ulcer, becomes swollen. And within some days, the doctor or doctors of the town, the village, they said, you have to have your leg cut off, amputated. It's a long story, and even it's a beautiful part concerning how his leg was cut off. But the point is, his leg was cut off. And within some days, the people of the town, they said, let's go and give our condolences to Urwa bin Zubayr. He lost his son, and then he lost his limb. Isn't that a hardship? Isn't that usr? Isn't that a hardship? Inna ma'al usri yusra. Isn't that a hardship that Urwa bin Zubayr had? So where is the ease then that Allah gave him? Where is the ease of Urwa bin Zubayr? When the people of the town came to see him, they said, we're so sorry for your loss. He said to them, لَإِنْ أَعْطَانِيَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ أَرْبَعَةً مِنَ الْبَنِينَ ثُمَّ أَخَذَ مِنْهُمْ وَاحِدٌ وَأَبْقَى لِي ثَلَاثَ فَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ. Allah gave me 4 children, and Allah took 1, and Allah left 3 for me. And for that I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَعْطَانِي, and Allah gave me 4 limbs, 2 arms and 2 legs. ثُمَّ أَخَذَ مِنْهُمْ وَاحِدٌ وَأَبْقَى لِي ثَلَاثَ فَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ. And Allah took 1 and Allah left 3 for me. For that I praise Allah. Right? 2 arms and 2 legs. Allah took 1, but I have 3 left. Allah gave me 4 kids. Allah took 1, but I have 3 left. لَإِنْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِنِّي قَلِيلٍ فَلَقَدْ أَبْقَى لِي كَثِيرٌ. Whenever Allah took something small from me, He always left a lot for me. Right? That's His ease. That is the ease. Why? Because it's ma'rifah, it's recognition. I recognize the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Recognizing the favors of Allah, of course, is a ni'mah, is a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to recognize the favors of Allah. We have a very famous narration from the Israeliyat, from the narrations from Bani Israel, the hadith, hadithu an Bani Israel wa la haraj. You can narrate from them without any fear of blame. The principle we go by, of course, if the narration agrees with what Allah and His Prophet has brought, we can accept the narration. If it disagrees, we throw it away. Many of the ulama and mufassirin will take these narrations as furnishing features. Ibn al-Qayyim was one of them. In one of his books, he gives us a story of one of the Israeliyat when Dawood alayhi salam, he says to Allah, Ya Rabbi, akhbirni ma adna ni'mak alayh. He says, my Lord, tell me what is the least of your favors to me? What is the least of your favors to me? Meaning the smallest of your favors. And Allah says to Dawood alayhi salam, "Tanaffas, breathe." فَتَنَفَّسَ, and he breathed. And then Allah says, هَذَا أَدْنَى نِعْمِي عَلَيْكَ, this is the least of my favors to you. The fact that you can breathe, right? Isn't that a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The fact that you can see, the fact that you can hear, the fact that you can smell, and there are people on earth who don't have these blessings. Like the famous story of that alim from Misr, from Egypt, who said that I became very angry when someone took my shoes, when someone stole my shoes or took my shoes from the masjid. I became very angry until the day I saw a man who has no feet, right? Until the day I saw a man who has no feet. Meaning I became angry when someone took my shoes until the day I saw a man who has no feet in the first place to even enjoy the comfort of having shoes in the first place, right? So we of course might forget that favor. The fact that we can wear shoes. It might sound trivial, but it's not. It's not trivial. If you really wanted to see the spirit of those who came before us, look at the example of Urwa bin Zubair. Another example, he once saw a man who was praying, and he prayed so fast. He made his ruku' and his sujood qiyam, it was so fast, as if he was just so rushing in his prayer. And when he finished the prayer, Urwa bin Zubair asked him, why do you pray so fast? Is there nothing that you want to ask Allah for? He says, by Allah, wallahi, I ask Allah in my prayer, hatta milh, even for salt I ask Allah for in my prayer. I even ask Allah in my prayer for salt, because where is the guarantee that you will go home and find salt in your kitchen? We tend to live with the idea that no, of course we will, because of certainties. كَلَّا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى أَرْآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. Indeed, man, he transgresses limits when he sees himself free of all need, or self-sufficient and independent. So sometimes we relish in our independence, thinking that, of course it's going to be there. But where is the promise? Where is the guarantee it's going to be there? So those who came before us had this great degree of dependence upon Allah for even the smallest of things, even the shoe, even the salt. Right? And if we take this kind of attitude and approach, you will find how your life will become so much sweeter. Because you will see the ni'mah, you will see the favor in even the smallest of things, rather than always waiting for the biggest things to come. And when Allah gives you a hardship and tests you and takes something away from you, by the mercy of Allah, perhaps you will be one of those who will always think about the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are still with you. اصبروا على النعماء وصابروا في البأساء والضراء ورابطوا في دار الأعداء واتقي إله الأرض والسماء لعلكم تفلحون في دار البقاء. Ibn Qayyim says, اصبروا على النعماء, have sabr even with the good things that come your way, because in the good things that come your way there is a sense of ghamra and ghurur, there's a delusion, right? Because the good things could mislead us, the good things could make us want more and become over indulgent and extravagant in the dunya. The good things could make us become less worshipping servants of Allah. So beware of them. The wonderful example is Abu Dharr himself. This is why he's so unique as Sahabi. If you studied his life, when Nabi Sallam passed away, what did Abu Dharr become? Even some Sahaba complained about him, because he, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he became a person that even in the smallest things he became so scared. He had a deep sense of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even in the smallest things, he felt, now we're going astray. بشر الكانزين الذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة. Right? Took what we had. He would say, give glad tidings to those who are branding themselves with fire, with their gold and their silver. Even the small dunya, he was saying, now you're going astray. Right? Are you not the people the Quran was revealed to your Prophet when you were there? He would say to people. Meaning he had this deep sense of concern and fear. The point I wanted to make, my dear brothers, is that we should try and be a people who try and see the blessing in everything. Right? If you have health, you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fact that you have health, because there are people on earth who don't have health. If you have eyes, you thank Allah for those eyes, because some people, they live in this life in darkness. If you have ears, you thank Allah for that, because some people, they can't hear anything. If you have a tongue, you can speak, you thank Allah, because some people, they cannot speak. Basic favors from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And that is ma'rifah. In another narration from the Israeliyat, this time Allah asked Dawood alayhi salam, He says, Ya Dawood, ushkurni haqqa shukri, thank me the way I deserve to be thanked. Thank me the way I deserve to be thanked. Right? And Dawood alayhi salam, he says, Ya Rabbi, kayfa ashkuruk haqqa shukruk, wa shukri iyaka ni'ma mink. How can I thank you the way I deserve, the way that you deserve to be thanked, when my thanking you is a blessing from you? How can I thank you the way that you deserve to be thanked, when my thanking you is a blessing from you? And then Allah says, Ya Dawood, al-an shakartani haqqa shukri. Now you thank me the way I deserve to be thanked. Why? Because of ma'rifah, of recognition. You can never thank Allah the way Allah deserves to be thanked. This is why Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he says, rahmatullah alayhi, he says, كل نعمة على العبد من الله سبحانه وتعالى في دين أو دنيا يحتاج إلى شكر. Every blessing from Allah to His servant in deen or dunya requires gratitude, requires shukr. ثم التوفيق إلى الشكر نعمة أخرى. And then having the ability to thank Allah is another blessing that requires another shukr. Alright? Is another blessing that requires another shukr. And then thanking Allah for that shukr is another blessing that requires another shukr. And he says, وَهَكَذَا الْعَبْدُ, like this, the servant can never really thank Allah enough all the time. Right? Because every time you're thanking Allah, you have to thank Allah for the fact that you thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that was a blessing itself. This is why the famous hadith, narration on the authority of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, when he took his hand and he says, Ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk Mu'adh, I love you. This is of course very effective method of da'wah based upon the sunnah of our Prophet. He took the man's hands. He took Mu'adh ibn Jabal's hands. Ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk. This is sunnah. He took Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah's hand when he says, هذا أمين هذه الأمة. When the people of Najran came, he says, this man, Abu Ubaidah, he is the truthful one of our ummah, of our nation. He took Mu'adh ibn Jabal's hand and he says, this man in the Mufrad, himself